this 2021 season has been filled with injuries to star players. Hell, even before the season started, Klay Thompson got hurt, and it's all been downhill from there. People are getting hurt left and right. It has been ridiculous. And if I could go and I could change one injury from one player, have it not happen, alright, have just one player stay totally healthy this season, it's actually not Joel Embiid, surprisingly enough, because I originally thought, of course it's Joel Embiid, he's my favorite player, he was set to win the MVP before he got hurt. Obviously, I want Joel Embiid to stay healthy, but it looks like he's fine right now. He didn't miss that much time, and at the end of the day, as much as I would love the man to have an MVP, it's just a regular season award. At the end of the day, it's just a regular season award. It's not a big deal. That's not the reason he is playing. I care more about the team winning a title than the team winning some regular season award that everybody's going to crap on anyway if they lose in the playoffs. So if I could go and change one injury, my choice would be Jamal Murray. The man tore his ACL about a month ago now, and it just sucks. You know, a lot of the injuries suck, but the Nuggets are my second favorite team, and I really believed that with how well they were playing since the Aaron Gordon trade, that they could be title contenders this season, that they could make a finals run this season with the injuries to the Los Angeles Lakers, and now that's pretty much guaranteed to not happen. But I need to let you all know that next season Jamal Murray is going to come back. I don't know if it's going to be towards the start of the season, if it's going to be halfway through, or even it's just going to be right before the playoffs. But assuming nothing crazy happens, he will come back next season by playoff time. And you all need to watch out, because this Denver Nuggets team is going to be a legitimate title contender next season, and I am very, very excited to see what they can do. Throughout their team's history, the Nuggets have been not exactly bad per se, but very average. Like, they actually do make the playoffs quite a bit. They had a good run in the late 80s, like early 90s, where they had Dikembe Mutombo, I believe. Then they went on in 2000s, they got Carmelo Anthony. They were pretty good for a while there. They almost looked like they had a shot at making the finals in 2009 with Melo. And then they had a few years with like Andre Iguodala. They were still making the playoffs. But throughout all that time, was there ever really a year where the Nuggets were the favorites to win the title? Was there ever really a year where people were coming into the season, they were like, this is it. The Nuggets are better than everyone else in the West. They're making the finals. They're the title favorites. No. In fact, I would say even in 2009, were they even legitimate title contenders? Like, did anyone really believe they stood a chance against the Kobe Lakers or against the Boston Celtics if they were healthy, or LeBron James's Cavs, who were expected to make it? I don't really think they were. I wasn't watching basketball at the time, but from what I've seen, I don't think they were seen as legitimate title contenders. And that was only 1 year. That wasn't a long period. But now, the Nuggets are in a position to be contenders for the rest of the 2020 decade. This team is going to be very, very good for a very long time, and they already are. They're already fourth in the West. They got a 41-21 record as I'm recording this. They have the fourth best offense and the 14th best defense, and that defense has actually been a lot better since they got Aaron Gordon. That doesn't take into account just the time they've had Aaron Gordon on the team. That's the entire season they've had that defense. They've got a very good coach, and they've got some fantastic players on this team who are very young. Nikola Jokic, you all know him, okay? He's going to win the MVP this season. I've accepted it. It makes me sad because I wanted Joel Embiid to win it, but Jokic has definitely earned it. He's played every game this season. He's averaging 26, 11, and 9, along with a steal and a block. He's shooting a absolutely inhumane, absurd 57, 41, 86. Okay, those are his shooting splits. Man has been an absolute monster. He also happens to be first, or at least top 3, in every offensive impact stat imaginable. So, as much as I hate to admit it, as much as I would love for Embiid to have some kind of crazy comeback here and win the MVP at the very end, it's going to Nikola Jokic. He's earned it 100%. And the craziest thing with him is he's only 25. And that's going to be a theme with a lot of this team, but especially Jokic. The man's winning his first MVP at the age of 25. We have not seen peak Nikola Jokic yet. This is not this man's prime, and he very much has the opportunity to win an MVP again next season, or at the very least, win another one during this decade, because this is not the best Nikola Jokic there is. He's going to keep getting better, and he's going to keep being one of the very best players in the league on one of the very best teams in the league. Moving on, Jamal Murray, only 23 years old, was averaging a fantastic 21 points this season on 48 and 41% shooting. 87% from the free throw line, by the way. Super efficient player. Not the world's greatest passer for a point guard, but he doesn't have to be. He can be a score-first guard. Very similar to Kyrie Irving, I would say. Not that Jamal Murray's similar to Kyrie Irving, necessarily, but you know what I mean. He's a score-first point guard. He lets somebody else do the playmaking. That's what's happening on this team. The Jokic-Murray duo is maybe the best offensive duo in the league. Honestly, it's insane to say that when there's LeBron James and Anthony Davis or Kawhi and PG, but legitimately, you know what, I'm forgetting the Nets. I'm forgetting Harden and Kyrie Irving or Harden and KD, but excluding the Nets because they're a little bit of an outlier. They might be the best offensive duo in the league. They're insane. They're very efficient. They can shoot from anywhere. Insane duo right there. Then you throw in Michael Porter Jr., who's only 22 years old in his number 2 season, his second season, and he's putting up freaking ridiculous 19, 8, and 1. The 1 assist isn't ridiculous. On 54, 44, 77 splits. Now, the free throw percentage could use some improvement, and also the fact that he only takes 2 of them a game. He really needs to be taking more. But 54% from the field and 44% from 3 from a second-year player? Holy crap, Michael Porter Jr. And he's been even better than that since Jamal Murray went out. His efficiency's gone up. His three-point percentage is up to 60% or something. And he's averaging 25 points a game. This man's probably going to be an all-star next season. He is ridiculous. People might be getting just a tiny bit ahead of themselves when they say he's the next Kevin Durant, simply because Kevin Durant's really, really good, in case you didn't know. But he really is a fantastic player. Then you got guys like Will Barton on the team, solid role player. He's going to be there next season. They just got Aaron Gordon. Hasn't played a ton of games, but he is playing, I would say, the best basketball of his life. He's finally found his role. He is a very efficient player who doesn't take too many shots, and he plays amazing on defense. He's able to pass the ball a little bit more. He's able to, he goes and gets lobs. He goes and he plays great defense. The dude he found his place. He found his place. The Magic were not it. Aaron Gordon is a perfect role player for the Denver Nuggets. And then off the bench, you got a couple other guys. You got, Paul Millsap's all right. He might not be here next season, but if he doesn't, he opens up $10 million of cap space to sign somebody else. You got Campazzo, who's all right. JaMychal Green's still going to be here next year. Zeke doesn't really do anything, but he could become good. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe Bol becomes good one of these days. Monte Morris has been pretty solid. You got all these dudes, but the main part is the core. Jokic, Murray, Porter, and Aaron Gordon. The oldest player of that group is 25. Okay? They're all under contract for at least next season, and I fully expect them to resign Aaron Gordon once his contract ends after next season. Same with Michael Porter Jr. This core is elite on offense. Maybe the best offensive group of 4 anywhere in the league once the Nets break up, because they're kind of unfair and they shouldn't be counted. But everybody else, any normal team, might be the best offensive core in the league. Meanwhile, Jamal Murray's improved on defense this season. Some people seem to think Jokic is good on defense. He's not, but he has improved a little bit. He's not as bad as he used to be. Aaron Gordon, like I said, is a very good defender, and Michael Porter Jr. has potential to be a very good, big, switchable defender. Now, he needs a ton of work on that end. I don't think he's ever going to be great, but if he can become at least slightly above average with all of his athletic abilities, this team could be amazing on both ends of the floor. I legitimately believe the Denver Nuggets are going to contend for a title next season, and if we get to next June and Nikola Jokic is holding up a Finals MVP, I'm just gonna have to let you know, I told you so, okay? I'm not necessarily predicting it's gonna happen, actually. That's a little too far. But it wouldn't be insane to me if they were the best team, in the very least, the best team in the West next season. LeBron's getting a little bit older on the Lakers. We never know what's happening with injuries on the Clippers. The Jazz, the Suns, they're not legit. The Mavs aren't there yet. Long story short, it could be the Denver Nuggets. It very well could be. And not just next season, This team, because of their youth, might just come out and run the entire 2020s decade. They could be the best team for this decade with this core. Now that's looking very far in the future. That's a very bold statement and not one I'm confident making. But I do expect them to consistently be in the title race every single season for probably the next 8 or 9 seasons, assuming they can keep this core together. I'm just saying, the Nuggets are legit, and people really need to start looking out for them in the future.